In case you're wondering, my favorite holiday is Halloween.
Yeah, this is the best holiday ever, and I think you guys could tell. This is the Double Creature Feature Chiller Theater Halloween Spooktacular. So yes, this is our finale. Here we are all together. We did it.
We did it. We made it to the end of October.
Gosh, one video every week. I did not think we were honestly going to be able to do all this. So yeah, definitely was a challenge this year. Between life and work and everything else that was going on this year. I'm getting poked in the neck with one of these damn lights. They're getting kind of hot, honestly.
We'll fix it in post.
Between all the things that was going on in our lives, I definitely don't regret this, but my gosh, this was quite a task.
Yeah, we might tone it down a little bit next year, but we'll definitely be doing this again.
Yes, I like this.
We still have plenty of ideas left to do.
And we'll take all those and we'll put them towards next year. Towards the next Spooktacular.
We had so much fun.
So Kevish, how are we going to wrap up this? We're in the finale. So how do we wrap up this entire level?
Well, I thought I'd say it's already wrapped up.
I think the Christmas lights are a pretty good finale wrap-up. But
how would you like to wrap this up then, guys?
Well, we're each going to go a couple minutes and talk about our favorite Halloween movie.
Yes.
So whatever your favorite Halloween movie happens to be.
The must-see, it's not Halloween until you've seen this.
Until you've seen this movie,
yes. These are our top picks. These must-see. We got a couple days left until Halloween. So you gotta watch these before the end of the spooky season.
Yes.
So without further ado, here is our Halloween movie must-sees. I remember watching commercials for this when it first came out. Cartoon Network billed this as a limited series, 1 week special event, and I was pumped. Yeah, I know this isn't a movie, but with only 10 episodes, you can totally binge watch this on Hulu. Created by Pat McHale, who worked on The Misadventures of Flapjack, another great series, Over the Garden Wall is the perfect Halloween show. The plot is a fairy tale typical lost kids in the woods trying to find their way home while also trying to avoid the Beast, a legitimate threat and terror stalking our heroes throughout the series. What makes it shine, though, is the art style. The character designs are straight up 2010s. This fits in with the Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Starverses, but the atmosphere it creates is truly unique. Mixing 1700s, 1800s Americana, colonial garb, folklore, turn-of-the-century art, and 1920s rubber hose cartoons? Yeah, this is an aesthetic combining so many different time periods, but it somehow works. It's like generalized New England, Northeastern America in the fall that most people can relate to. There's so many influences, it feels like it could take place at any time and any place. I don't even have time to talk about the music, just listen. Oh, it's so good. There aren't any toys or really any other merchandise for the show. It's a show made for art. Sure, there's a pretty good comic series continuing the world, so make sure you check that out too. But you really gotta respect Cartoon Network for allowing the team to make this show knowing they're not really gonna turn a large profit. There's definitely a mystery involved, and by the last episode, you'll be on the edge of your seat. So I won't spoil anything, but that ending, it definitely hits hard. Over the Garden Wall is the masterclass in combining varied art styles, comedy, and horror. You gotta check this cartoon out this year.
For my pick, I don't really like to watch the same movie over and over again, so I have to go with an entire film franchise, and that is the classic black and white Universal monster movies. I think that they do a really fantastic job of setting up an atmosphere that really just speaks spooky time to me. They're not scary for any modern audience. Like, I've definitely seen scarier episodes of Star Trek than some of these movies. But at the time, because these special effects, these makeup techniques were all just being invented, they really got to people. These movies were considered terrifying when they came out. And now they're these tame relics of a bygone era. And I think that is really fascinating, how the market and the audience have evolved over the decades. These are the films that are the versions of these stories that have entered the public consciousness. This is the story of Frankenstein that everyone knows, not the Mary Shelley novel. That movie. That is the version of the Wolfman that everyone knows. These are like cultural touchstones that everyone knows, but very few people today have actually seen. So it's always wild to me to go back and see them and say, oh yeah, that's where that comes from. And the thing where Frankenstein walks with his arms out and sort of lurches slowly from side to side, that's from the third Frankenstein movie. Because of the specific makeup and actor that they had, he was like blinded by the makeup and he had to keep his arms in front of him to avoid walking into things. That's where that came from. But that's what everyone thinks of now when they think of Frankenstein. It's wild. So upon some brief consideration, I guess this year's offering is going to be The Creature from the Black Lagoon, which none of us have seen yet. It was one of the last ones that they did. I think it was the very last one. But it was very late in the production studio's life cycle, so they had mastered all of these camera techniques. They could have filmed it in color, but they chose not to, because that's not the franchise that they had built. They were built on these black and white atmospheric movies, and it wasn't until the Hammer horror series that horror movies really became a color phenomenon. And that's a whole nother discussion that we could have another time. I do also love Hammer movies. But no, for Halloween this year, we're going to watch The Creature from the Black Lagoon and see what all the hype there is about.
It should come as no surprise that my pick for favorite movie of Halloween is Evil Dead 2. This is just one of the best horror movies as far as I'm concerned. I actually really love the entire series, but for a lot of people, this is just where everything just sort of came to a head. This was the one that got everything right. It is the perfect mishmash between the slapstick where the series sort of went and the horror where it started out. This is sort of one of the absolute best Sam Raimi movies, I'd have to say, and one of the best for Bruce Campbell as well. Now, if you're not aware of this movie, this is definitely a hard R horror movie. So there are things like Ash chopping his hand off and him cutting off his girlfriend's head within the first 20 minutes of the movie. Things like that. So if you're a little bit squeamish, this might not be the movie for you. But it's things like that, the eye-popping moments. You'll get that little tidbit there. But yeah, there are some really, really grotesque moments in this movie, and they just hit you in just the right way. This is sort of the 80s horror movie that flipped the script on all the 80s horror movies. This one definitely went a completely different direction, especially with the ending. So probably one of the reasons why it is just one of my favorite horror movies ever. So you should definitely see it if you haven't seen it by now. The hype is definitely real on this one, so go check it out.
Groovy.
Those were some good picks. I'm glad we definitely got to watch all of those this year.
Yeah, of course. So this is it. This is the end of our Halloween Spooktacular this year.
Yeah.
So
It's been a fun run, but we gotta end it somewhere.
But we are breaking character, and thank you for joining us on this love letter to the season. And we'll see you next year on the Double Creature feature, Chiller Theater Halloween Spooktacular.